Greetings and welcome back to North Node Astrology. Here we are with a new moon in Sagittarius. Now I'm only recording this, a day ahead of time here, and I am trying to get back on the horse here. I saw a post today on Twitter about hobbies and doing that kind of thing, and I sat down and wrote out a little list of the planets and the rulerships and stuff of where my hobbies are, and that's fifth house. It's Leo things, and looking at what entails and what all goes into that. And I came up with obviously a couple of things, but one of them, astrology is kind of a hobby for me. It is a bit. I talk about it quite a bit with people, and it always, anytime I'm talking about something or watching something, I'm thinking about, astrological things. So here we are, and you'll notice that the moon and the sun are in the third house here. They are in the position of the mind. And I'm actually just going to use the transit chart here without rotating it, in Aquarius or Aries or any of that stuff. I'm just going to leave it right where it is, because it's a moment. And as I don't know if any of you know this, when the planets move, they go counterclockwise on these charts, right? Say for the sun, as it progresses through Sagittarius, will move from Scorpio. If this chart stays frozen, it'll move 9, and then all the way through, to 29 degrees of Sagittarius, and move counterclockwise into Capricorn and keep moving, right? Now, when in the morning, the sun actually rises into the 12th house, right? So let's rotate things around, and right at the moment of this chart, the sun is, down. It's dark. It's 1 a.m. It's starting to actually come back up, because that chart rotates clockwise. So some things look like they move pretty quick, like the moon can zip around a chart, through the day, because the outside, the constellations and the degrees and the angles and stuff spin around clockwise, but the planets rotate counterclockwise as far as this chart is concerned. Well, really any astrological chart for a moment, right? So this chart has moved, it started off in the 12th house. It stays in Sagittarius, but it'll rotate through, and then, like in the morning for now, things are very much, kind of spiritual, and we are probably, thinking about whether our work is worth anything, or whether, whether our beliefs are our thoughts and our beliefs. Probably having pretty odd and strange and weird dreams, dreams that are very difficult to ascertain what's going on, like in first thing in the morning, like when you first wake up, if you do remember your dreams at all. And then we probably are looking at, and again, it's Sagittarius, so it's beliefs about all sorts of things, and then it'll rotate through the 11th house. So we're going to probably look at politics and maybe religion, and thinking about this time of year, thinking about our family, and whether we are in harmony with them or not, or whether we have the same belief structures as them. And then the day keeps moving, and then we're more focused on our careers, on things that are stable, right? And then after lunch, or shortly after the middle of the day, then that's where that very heavy, very deep philosophical kind of thing can start hitting. And then after that, it's more about trust, right? Then that would be the 8th house. It's rotating through. And then closer to sunset, when the sun is going to be in that 7th house location, then we're thinking about our relationships. We're thinking about fairness. We're thinking about balance. We're thinking about justice. We're thinking about connecting, and am I level? And that's one of the reasons why, when people are driving to and from work right now, they're having a hard time. right? Early in the morning, later on in the evening, close to sunset. The sun is setting earlier, so that's when we're thinking about it. And then after the sunset, oddly enough, we're like, okay, well, what did we work on all day? What is, where is this getting me? Where am I going with this? And then the sun keeps moving, and then it's more about fun and entertainment and children and sex and things of that nature. And then later on, later in the evening, that's when we settle down, we go to bed, we go to sleep. And with this sun and moon being in the third house, there is a subconscious element here. It's less than conscious. It's we are thinking about things, and there's a lot going on there, especially in Sagittarius. With Pluto being in the fourth house in this chart, we are trying to move forward. We're trying to kind of leave Capricorn behind a little bit. We don't really know where to put that right now. As far as an emotional space, we're like, okay, well, all that happened. I have these values, and they're anchored, they're fine, but what am I supposed to do with them? And Pluto ruling that third house that starts in Scorpio and then ruling that sun and moon, it can definitely get very interesting. But, or, on a more pure raw sense, Jupiter in Gemini retrograde, in opposition to Mercury that is backing up, rules Sagittarius. So there's a communication element. So no matter how you look at this, there's a very deep, philosophical, very communicative element that's going on here. And this is a reset, right? The new moon's a reset. And we have been wondering, like, okay, how do we reset? How do I get my inner self and my outer self reset? These two things got to come together, and they got to match up, and I need to get this sorted out. How can I communicate? What do I need to change in my environment? What do I need to, what decisions do I need to make that are going to propel me forward and transform me and allow me to, get in a vibe that can sync me up with the craziness that's going on in the rest of the world so that I don't feel so crazy. How do I do that? And we're going to have to be at home with it. We know that these things are going to continue as they always do. And if they don't, then you're another plane of existence. You ain't got to worry about none of this. But while you're here, you have to look at all these things. So, there's a lot. It is a lot. And, one of the ways leading into this moon that we can anchor this stuff down is by just doing the work. Making the connection, right? You may not know exactly where you're going, but you have anchored yourself enough in various values and decisions you've already made that you are at home with, that you carry with you everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, or at the end of the day, that's where you are with things. Because you can fluctuate all day long, but at the end of the day, right, the fourth house, the home, that's where you are with it, right? Also, just a bit of an aside, I still have all kinds of tabs open about this Mercury retrograde, and I will be getting back to that because I was digging into other stuff tonight, and I have felt a bit bored lately. For whatever reason, I think it may be the Uranus retrograde, because that's the planet that rules astrology. And with Saturn in Pisces, I've been a bit spacey, but he's coming back closer to my Jupiter in my third house, so my mind is starting to click a little bit easier again. It's starting to restrict all that floating around. So I've kind of been in my own little vibe, getting things sorted out. But yeah. So with with all of this to communicate about, and all of these things to consider, you just have to, you're already going to make decisions, but I think a lot of people are falling into the over medicating themselves, or they're watching too much TV, or they're binging stuff on Netflix, and I've kind of been doing that a little bit. But I have grabbed another one of my journals that has still got some pages in it. The last one that I was working on, drew a line in drew a line on it, and it was, the last time was over a year ago that I wrote in it. And now I'm going to write down, if I'm watching a TV show or a movie or an anime or whatever, and I think about something and it clicks with me, I'm going to write it down. And I've been watching Suits, and Mike Ross is starting over again, right? Things are new. He's trying to start over, and he's trying to do the right thing by himself. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting over too. And on top of that, next year, Neptune is going to be in Aries. It's going to be a new dream, right? But right now, we're wrapping up the old dreams. We're tying up the old stuff. We're going back over the old stories. All of these old, reruns and everything else and remakes, that stuff is going to be done. And we're gonna be able to have a new kind of injection here. We're gonna have a new direction, but we've already started down that path, right? We have that drive, that pull. It's more of a pull to do something, to do something new, to do something that is going to change things, to make a shift, right? I watched the movie Moneyball last night. That's about the mathematical system, or anybody that doesn't know, the mathematical system of how to look at baseball and baseball players and how to win games, right? It started with the late 90s Oakland Athletics, and their general manager, and then the statistician, the finance guy, the young guy, Peter, I can't think of his name, that had the forethought, and there was an author that wrote a book about it. But anyway, so those guys were looking at things in a new way, and everybody around him was doing things business as usual. Well, it wasn't business as usual. Some things had changed on the team. Some things had changed in the league, and they were, at the time, the team was not in a good financial position, and they were just trying to move forward and do we got to solve this problem, and let's solve this problem just like we've been solving these problems. Except they had a new problem, and they weren't seeing it, and they were just trying to do it. We'll just keep solving things. You can't do that anymore. You can't keep solving new problems the way you solved old problems. You have to adapt. You have to move forward. You have to learn and grow and evolve and change and shift and do hard things, and not freak out and not break down and not stay closed off and not drink too much and get up when you're supposed to, and oops, I didn't drink any water today. Did I go outside? I've eaten frozen meals 3 nights in a row. Maybe I need to fix myself something. Oh, that takes a lot of energy, but it's better for you, right? So all of these things are coming together on this new moon. And for all of us, there's different bits and pieces of how these things, where these things in our lives. So for some of you guys, this is going to be about your job, and other people it's going to be about actual intimacy, and for somebody else it's going to be about their friends, and for it's like, oh well how much money am I making from my investments, or do people really trust me? Do I trust them? Like, how much fun am I having? Am I spending too much time playing games? Am I not paying attention to my kids? So, all of these things all come together, but they all have the same theme. They all go from the same direction. And they do affect our minds and our patterns, all right? I'm reading I brought up another book, today, and it's about tracking crisis periods in your life through astrological cycles. And I even bought, great big graph paper a couple of years ago and a, giant rulers and stuff so I can draw all this stuff out. And I never got to it because there were other things in my life that were, pulling my attention away. And now I know that I have to get back to this stuff. It's not an option anymore. And whether it's for me, because I'm already 50, but there's other people, I'm going to do it for myself first. That way I know what I'm looking at for me. And then I'm going to start doing these things for family members so that I can advise them in a better way. And most of the things that I do is about family. Almost everything that I do is about family. I can't, as somebody that's a Cancer, somebody that's very, Cancer heavy, my Sun and my Saturn and my Mercury are all in Cancer. My Pluto is in Libra, which is the fourth sign from Cancer. My Moon is in Libra. My Uranus is in Libra. So it's like friends become family, family becomes friends. Sometimes those things, vibe out and they get weird and things break down. So it's like, I have to know how things look to me. So knowing yourself is, you have to know where you're at. It's like when you're GPS. If you want to go down and you want to get pizza at a new place that's across town, you got to know where you are first. If you don't know where that place is and you don't know what the traffic is, then your GPS has to know where it is. And I know you guys have seen it on your phones, like, GPS signal is poor right now. Move your phone around to recalibrate. So you might be in a dead zone. You might have to drive for a little while. Like, you know what? I know how to get from here to the 3 streets away or up the interstate. I know I got to go down 2 exits and get off, but I'm not sure whether to turn left or right. And by the time you get on the interstate and go down, 1 exit, GPS can be back on. So you might have to go a little bit before you get that update. And this is no different. My best friend always tells me, trust the process, sir. He says that all the time. Tells it to me. Tells other people that. And that is, I struggle with it. I struggle with trusting the process. But it's work. Faith is work. It takes work. You can't just have faith in something unless you've already worked for it. Now, there's certain things you have faith in, and you may have to, bump back up against that, because a lot of Sagittarius stuff coming up here. Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini. Be careful what you say. Manifestation isn't necessarily full tilt right now. Saturn's direct, but the planet that's ruling him in the sign right now, Neptune, is retrograde. That's not going to stay forever. So, trying to claw back to where you were before is a thing, but you're going to have to undo what you did. You're going to have to create some new beliefs. You're going to have to make some new connections. You're going to have to let go of what things were in the past. You have to let go. If you want to move forward, you got to let go. It's like going on the monkey bars. You got one hand on the bar that you're under. So you got, you're holding on with 2 hands. You have to let go with one of them and reach forward with the other one and grab on. Well, that new hand that is moving forward, that's Uranus. And you grab onto that, and the hand that is in the past and the back, that's Saturn. So then you let go of Capricorn and you move forward in Aquarius. You swing, you move, you are in motion, you are flowing forward. And the thing, the big thing with Aquarius is its value systems is letting go. It lets go of its value systems, or it makes a magical connection. It's yes or no. That's it. If you get mad about something and you're like, man, you've already made the decision. You're just trying to figure out whether you have the fortitude to tell somebody yes or no and then follow through and ride it out. And this moon is going to show you things. This moon is going to let you sit back, breathe, reset, go back to things that you were doing before. Go back to old processes and go, what about this thing was getting me where I wanted? Is it doing the thing, or is there something else with it? Or like if you used to read, I used to love reading. Now, did you love reading, or did you love reading the books or the types of books you were reading? Or were you when you used to read a lot and used to enjoy it, is because you were escaping where you were. Were you going to the library? Were you going to a coffee shop? You have to pay attention to all of those elements, because those elements are all part of that thing that you thought you were, that was more small. It's bigger than that. So those elements now are being shown to us. They are being brought into focus, and they're hitting us in the face. So be brave. And, you know, if you feel uncomfortable, you feel twitchy, you feel like you need to get up and do something, there are obvious things that are there for you to look at and see, but you have to be willing to see them. And I've gone for a while and I wasn't willing to look at it, and now I am. And as soon as I went, okay, I got to do something, I'm going to do something, right? Well, one of my projects is I am going to build an archery stand in the backyard. I'm going to do it. I'm not thinking about doing it. I've not just looked at how to do DIY. I'm going to do it. I have a bow, I have arrows, I need something to do. Sagittarius, I got to do something. And it's the sign of the archer. So maybe going in the backyard and doing some physical meditation is going to help me sort things out, put arrows on target, focus my mind, get my body in shape, be outside. This can do a lot of stuff. And for those of you that aren't friends and family, anybody that's listening to this, if you want me to help you work out, you know, what hobbies might help you, and I can do that for sure. Look at your chart, look at the transits, you know, just send me a message, let me know. We can and on whatever social media that you find this on, I can get with you and do that. So thank you for listening to me ramble, and I hope that you guys have a good weekend, or have had a good weekend and good holiday weekend. And next week's going to be a little bumpy. It's going to be a little bumpy, but we've had some bad bumps before, and we're all still here. A lot of us are still here, and you have support, you have tools, you have the ability. And that's the other thing about this new moon. You're developing new tools, new way to use new tools, right? Paying attention to new details and looking at them in a weird way, right? So with that, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys all soon.